Okay, off you go.
In today's society, it is normal to have a pet, whether it be a cat, a fish, a horse, a parrot or a dog. People are also living longer, allowing new diseases to come to light. Also, with bacteria becoming immune to certain antibiotics, medical discoveries in the vet and human world are important. I want to talk about what we can learn from animals about being human. I'm not talking about what we can learn from them in the lab by conducting experiments to see if that cosmetic product is safe. I have been looking at how animals get similar diseases to us, how some of their behaviours are similar to ours, how they can help us psychologically, and how medical advancement might be made if doctors and vets work together. Most people don't think that what they see in an animal is the same as what they see in humans. Animals' bodies, like humans, don't function 100% all the time. Animals are alive. They may not be advanced as us, but they still feel, breathe, eat, do all the things we do. In fact, you may not be aware of what human things animals do. They faint, self-mutilate, become depressed. Some even get addicted to substances in nature. And the majority of our genetic code is shared with other animals. However, many people say that humans are more self-aware and seem to think animals' lives mean less than our own. This led me to think that we are, unknowingly, guilty of speciesism. Speciesism is humans assuming they are superior, leading to animals being exploited. I can imagine that many people would be horrified by the idea of a veterinary surgeon treating them. Yet in 2000, human doctors made academic careers out of discovering a form of heart attack they named Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, where a bulge on the heart is caused by an emotional trigger, such as seeing a loved one die or losing a significant amount of money. Vets have known about this in animals for years, yet the human medical world didn't know it existed. Vets give it a different name, capture myopathy. When animals are caught by a predator, they can experience a huge surge of adrenaline into the heart, poisoning the muscles. It can make the cardiac muscle weak and inefficient, killing the animal. Vets have found ways of preventing it, but because they did not consult with doctors, many humans have died from it. Doctors hold an unspoken bias against vets. When speaking to some doctors, they couldn't understand why they should work with a vet, or why they should read a veterinary journal to keep up to date with research. Although a vet I spoke to said he did read medical journals. When you consider dog bone cancer is 95% similar to human bone cancer, I begin to think if both professions are trying to find cures, why keep finding separate just because one is for dogs and one is for humans? Then there is the skin cancer, melanoma. Did you know that melanoma in dogs is basically the same disease as the melanoma in humans? The malignant forms are found in the same place. They both resist chemotherapy. It usually reappears in both species after treatment, and the survival rates are very low. When a doctor and a vet, both experts in melanoma, met at a conference, they realised that something needed to be done about the low survival rates. Jed Walchok, the human doctor, had done trials with mice, where they tricked the immune system into attacking its own cancer. Philip Bergman, the vet, suggested they try the method on dogs, as it had appeared to work on mice. They injected DNA from a human melanoma cell into the dog's thighs. All the dogs they chose were at different stages of the cancer, but they were all pets, whose owners had no other options left. They were not lab dogs. In most cases, the cancer shrank and the life expectancy of the dog increased. The method was so effective that a vaccine for dogs called Onset was released in 2007, and the work of these two men has inspired other people to try to find a vaccine for humans. The way vets and doctors treat can be very different. It is not uncommon to suggest euthanasia for a pet, but doctors are not allowed to suggest this to humans. They can have not do resuscitate, but in the UK they are not allowed to perform actual euthanasia. Another form of treatment for veterinary surgeons is culling, such as when a cow gets foot and mouth or bovine tuberculosis. They do not offer treatment, instead the cow is killed. In the case of foot and mouth, the cow usually recovers, but because of the loss of produce for the farmer and how infectious the disease is, the cow is killed. Doctors would never be allowed to do this. The ill individual would have palliative care and maybe a quarantine set in place. Veterinary practice is also rougher than human surgery. In a hospital in the UK, every surface is aseptic and the highest hygienic conditions maintained. For a farm vet, if he gets called out for his caesarean, he scrubs himself and the cow down with an antibacterial substance and then does the operation, right there in the barn. The cow receives an injection of painkiller and some antibiotics, as well as a local anaesthetic. How many women do you know who would put up with that in a hospital? Then there is breast cancer. In 2014, it killed 11,433 women in the UK alone. In animals, it can affect llamas, beluga whales, sea lions, and many breeds of dog. However, animals such as the dairy cow and goat have tiny numbers that suffer from breast cancer. What's different in these animals, apart from the obvious fact they look different? They lactate early and continuously. It appears to protect them from the disease. How can we use this to perform preventative methods towards breast cancer? Women could go to the doctors several times a year to have induced lactation. This sounds really strange, but when it could reduce the possibility of breast cancer, so that is an insignificant statistic, who wouldn't have it done? Horses in Western America sometimes graze on loco weed, which is a small flower resembling sweet peas. They can lose their sense of direction, find it hard to stand up, withdraw from the rest of the herd and suddenly become violent. This is similar to the behaviour of human addicts. Human addicts have changes in their behaviour, start hallucinating, then they start to go without simple things such as food, just so they can have the drug. When rats were tested for substance abuse, the researchers found that they do similar things, like the horses and the humans. Once they've gotten over their aversion to taking the substance, which in itself is a very human idea, they start to seek it out. They start to dose themselves, even to the point where they die, just like humans. When given a choice between food and water or the drug, they go for the drug. Now this can't be a coincidence that we react in very similar ways. We have receptors in our brains for opiates, cannabinoids, and many other psychoactive substances. This means we have channels in our brains for some of nature's most dangerous substances to pass through, and we're not the only ones. Many species of fish, mammals, birds, amphibians have them too. The fact that our brain has specific channels for these substances suggests that what we see as a dangerous, harmful chemical can actually be there to aid survival. When animals do something that aids them in their fight to survive, such as hunt, forage, or build a nest, their brain releases small amounts of dopamine, opioid, or oxytocin. This gives a strong incentive to complete a survival-aiding behaviour. When humans go food shopping or house buying, they receive this release as well. When they take heroin or cocaine, they cut out actually having to survive and get the feeling that they have done something worthwhile. It is harder for animals who try to get the shortcut release, as the berries and plants they eat come and go with the seasons. And when they're addicted, it means they're more vulnerable to predation and they're more likely to climb to walls and windows. For humans, it can lead to suicide, car accidents, and accidental deaths. Understanding from both worlds' perspectives may enable us to help addicts more effectively. I have spoken a lot about medical similarities, but it has been shown that animals can be used to help people deal with psychological problems. There is a famous horse whisperer, Monty Roberts, who uses techniques that involve body language, both his and the horse's, whilst trying to communicate with the horse. He believes a bond should be formed because the horse wants to, not because they've been forced to. He is using these forms of communication to work with ex-servicemen and women who suffer from post-traumatic stress. Roberts says, horses act as a mirror for a person's emotions, and participants quickly tune in as to how to manage their reactions and responses. Useful tools which can be used to cope with everyday life, confront painful memories and progress their recovery. A charity I volunteer at works with disadvantaged and disabled young people and horses. They spend a lot of time working with the horses on the ground, grooming them, talking to them and lunging them. It helps them with their communication skills and controlling their energy levels, as horses are sensitive. They work up to join up, which is one of the techniques favoured by Monty Roberts. They have to listen to the horse and wait for the signs that the horse wants to be with them. It gives the participant confidence, as they are often isolated and struggle to continue with their life in the outside world. From animals, I already think we have learned a lot. They can help people get through trauma. They have enabled the findings of medicines and cosmetic products through animal experimentation. There is still so much we can learn from them though. They offer us the opportunity to understand our own brain and own biology better. With them, we may be able to find cures and preventions for cancer, heart attacks, depression, obesity and drug abuse. We just have to be willing to go into new areas and accept new ideas.